Wow, I just got my alert. That's crazy. Hope you people are doing well. Howdy. Just waiting for the couch about to fire. A little distracting this morning. Man, wow. World's on fire. Um, but we're good here in this cozy cocoon of design goodness. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. A little laid back. Um, ow, sorry, I hurt my leg earlier, and I It's funny the on the other side of any while we're waiting on the couch, but let's talk for a second. On the other side of any medications you take, um, you're supposed to drink like lots of water, and I didn't. Well, I have actually, but it's like no more than I normally would. And went for a nice run yesterday. Finally got to go out and run for the first time in like well over a week because all the stuff that I had last week I had to begin healing. And yeah, worst Charlie horse this morning. Like just like calf just like curled up like half its normal size. Just so yeah, feeling that right now. Whew. It's no Gouda, no Gouda at all. Um, I hope you're not doing. I hope you're not suffering from Charlie horses. Um, we'll be fine. I'll just get my tiny hands out. Here, get my tiny. Actually, I think I have those on the wrong hand. Yeah, I had those reversed. Be weird if your thumbs are on the outside rather than the inside. But rub the calf with the tiny hands. And, like I could send you a pair of tiny hands if you like. Just email me. Um, Waiting to get this started. It was fun to see Abraham in the channel, like blowing up General yesterday. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind having discussions. The problem with projects like that, Abraham was asking, just kind of parachuting into the channel. Unless we have like an ongoing conversation about it, it's very hard to like just look at a couple of screen grabs and like say, hey, yeah, you should change that thing over there. It's like it's got to be like an ongoing conversation. Otherwise, it's just extremely hard to diagnose. It's one of the reasons why I really like working with Rebecca on her ongoing projects. She's just in the mentorship program, and we have calls and we talk about projects over the course of weeks. And it's kind of like I play like a senior advisor role, and I do this for other organizations too. They're like I do the new Pragmatic thing, and then there are organizations that have me come in and I just consult for them. Now the dollar amount for that is significantly higher than what I do for individual students or collaborators. I think collaborators is really more of a good word for it. But it's an ongoing thing, so it's much easier to give like actionable feedback. It's so hard to like parachute in, and I hear about people doing mentorship, and I see that yeah, I meet with I met with X number of people over the past 6 months. It's like, yeah, I get it, but if you meet with them once, how do they ask follow-ups? How do they progress? How do you know how are you challenging them? Like the investment level is different. It's not mentorship like what we're doing here, where we're going back and forth day to day. Couchbot's fired though, so I want to go ahead and get this underway. So hey, good morning, greetings. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's good to have you along for this final ride of the week into the feedback loop. Light load. You can tell summer is happening because the number of submissions is going down. And that's okay. That's okay. We're heading into the end of the month. 4th of July is right around the corner. I expect nobody to be going anywhere and doing anything. 4th of July, stay inside. Actually, go out in your backyard and wear a mask and like enjoy the nice warm temperatures. I wish we could all go to a beach. I wish we could all go to the park. It's probably not gonna happen. That whole COVID thing. By the way, I gotta give kudos to Chelsea. So Chelsea's working through the UX, the new UX prompts, and she is coming up with some excellent questions. And it reminds me that so much of UX design is asking good questions, and you know knowing, basically identifying, what don't I know, what are the known unknowns, and the more known unknowns that you have, that's not a failure. That's just a fact that this is something that I need to. I know that I don't know this, so I need to go ask questions about it. The and the concept of known unknowns always throws people off until you think about it. Once you think about the world in known knowns and then known unknowns, that gives you a scope of your range of interest. Now, there's a whole world of unknown unknowns that are further along that like exist, and there's a lot more of those, frankly. But what you're trying to do is expand your known knowns and shrink your unknown or known unknowns. Now, what will happen? This is kind of the old question of, you know, every answer generates two. Every single answer generates two questions. So the chase to eliminate the known unknowns will only expand the known unknowns, because the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. And we have to get comfortable with that. We can't let that paralyze us. So I really do think, keep that in mind as you're working. Like, what I seemingly do not know is likely to grow even as I run harder into this. And that's why establishing a base process for breaking down problems is key. It's key. It just says, you know what, I'm going to get comfortable with this. I'm going to get comfortable with not knowing everything. I'm going to get comfortable with asking a lot of questions, and in doing so, I may discover I will have an easier time discovering what I need to know. The known knowns that are the most important are the need to knows, right? You don't want a need to know to be a known unknown. It's like, yeah, I need to know that, but I don't. But the good news there is, when you discover one of those, you know what to do. Go ask those questions. So, anyway, I wanted to take a sidetrack today. Before we talk about Katie, I wanted to, if I could get couch. Well, sorry. Hey, what happened to my? That's no good. Weird. Is it this not? Sorry, I've got it. Nope, that works. Okay. Well, that's bizarre. I would think that I would be able to. Huh. Okay. Well, it looks like I'll have to manually do my transition today. I apologize about that. Although, how the hell do I do a transition if my quick keys aren't working? This is really strange. I've never had the quick keys die on me. Okay, I can just click the button, I guess. I'll click it again. Click it one more time. I will have to figure out why that hotkey is not working. Maybe I deleted it. Technical fun with Chris. Here we go. More fun with Chris. Yay. All right. So one thing I wanted to point out was we had this design jobs channel on Discord, and a lot of you are looking for jobs, and a lot of you see jobs here, and it's like, wow, Behance posts a lot of jobs into the Discord channel. And it's not just Behance, like Dribble jobs are here as well. Lots of Dribble jobs. There are other, so that's Behance, that's Dribble, Behance, Dribble, Behance, Dribble. I know there's more services than this that pile into this channel, but it looks like it's mostly Behance and Dribble at the moment. Yeah, that's really weird. Anyway, my point is, if you're looking for a particular place, like say we're looking for New York, you can search for New York in the channel, and it will turn up. Okay, so here's a job in New York at Bowen. That was posted on 6/24. If we scroll down, we see another. The Clyde was hiring at 6/12, 6/11. Stellar Health. You get the idea, and it will go to other channels. It searches through everything. So if you're interested, it goes in chronological order. You could search by most relevant, newest, oldest. You always want to be searching newest. I don't really want to see oldest. Another way to sort this is just remote. There's going to be more remote jobs than there are jobs in a particular geographic region. Hey, the UX Jobs Board showed up. Oh, and that's something that I posted. That was oddly enough from the Design Jobs channel. Anyway, searching for remote or searching for anywhere. Anywhere is another designation that I want to say that Dribble uses it. We'll see. Yeah, Dribble. So it's like Behance uses remote, and UX Job Board uses remote. Dribble uses anywhere. But what's important to know is that there are lots of jobs out there that are pouring into this. They're pouring into this channel, and if you're not taking advantage of the channel, if you're still just kind of hunting in all these different directions, it might not be the greatest. It might like just looking at the channel is probably not the best usage of your time, but utilizing search in the channel is. Okay, so just keep in mind, there's about 10 to 15 design jobs posted in the Design Jobs channel every day, and I would suggest checking it a couple times a week. Use the search bar up there to sort by search your city. Obviously, if you search Florida. Let's see what we get for Florida. So the word Florida is not so hot, but maybe Miami. Yeah, so more posts for Miami than just Florida by itself, but you get the idea. The whole point of having the job board there for you is so that we can highlight opportunities. And some of this stuff is like, it's really all over the place, like sales deck, PowerPoint presentation, which is important. Let's not poo-poo that, but also Alto, product design lead, comic book artist, lead mobile UX UI designer. So there's lots of stuff like it just goes all over the place. But these are all design jobs. Something to keep an eye on. Okay. From here, I wanted to jump over to So Katie's working on forms, building better forms, and I like to build better forms. You know why I like to build better forms? Because the internet is basically made of forms. We're doing one of two things on the internet all the time. We're either consuming or we're inputting information. So when we're consuming, we're just sitting back and like accepting information. Oddly enough, that information had to get there somehow, and a lot of time, like when you think about Twitter as an activity, it's people filling out a form, hitting submit, and you sitting on the other side reading the entry from another form. Like it's like a big long back and forth with a form. You read a lot more entries than you post, hopefully, unless you're on a tweet storm. But it's just forms. Okay, the whole damn thing is just forms. So we need to get really comfortable with forms. And Katie, I read through, um, like your initial thoughts. You're dead right. This thing doesn't group anything. It's not a single column. Left a line. It's hard to read. Like, really, what is what is this? This is all just kind of gobbledygook. It's just very hard to make it through. So, your goal here was to go through and iterate. How can we make these more logical, easier to use? And iteration one, I thought, was pretty smart. You chunked the information, so attendee information, you know, workshop information, billing information. I don't have a submit button, and I think that was probably just an oversight. Um, Credit card number, expiration number, expiration number, and CCV. Those are the critical components. Um, Typically speaking, you'll probably see like a name on card. You may hear from somebody, hey, we really need that name on the card, but I digress. Now, this other one, the iteration 2, you did this into a 2-pager, and one thing that I'm interested in is like how would errors show up. So if I went through this billing thing, and I didn't give you my company name, would that throw an error? I The reason I say that is I don't see anything designating that this is a required, like, are these all optional fields? Do you require anything? So I would like to see some designation for what's optional and what's required before I hit, I go to the billing button here, and if I hit that, if I haven't entered anything here, am I going to get an error? I don't know right now. And I realize, like, well, I want you to fill the whole thing out. It's like, well, yeah, but what's optional? If I don't want to give you my T-shirt size, or if a T-shirt size is required, I don't want you to. I don't want as we pointed out in the documentation, I don't want you to like specify what's required. I want you to specify what is optional, because there's always this teeter totter. Actually, if only 2 things are required, okay, mark those 2 things. Don't mark 8 things that are required when only 2 are optional. Only 2 are optional. So mark the whatever you have more of. Mark that. So if I have only a couple of things that are required, mark them. Or if I only have a couple of things that are optional, mark those. Whatever's gonna, whatever the lesser of the evils is. As we come over billing information, that's now chunked over here as well, and that's fine. The placement of the button, I always struggle with like having it just at the bottom, because I'm worried about the length. And this is getting, when you look at it in terms of, if this was on a screen, this is about the size that we would see. And as you can see, like as you're working down, like you'd have to scroll to get down to that submission. So I like to have the button like viewable, and what that would mean is like, this would be an element that kind of rides along, with your basically rides along as a kind of like a receipt with it, in a section kind of like this, and it might track your details entered, but regardless, having you've got it in the right spot. I'm just not sure if it should be riding along with it because of the length of the form. But you're telling people what to expect. I think this is where microcopy comes in. I would I know go to it's like go to billing or enter billing, or there's got to be something like just I'm not gonna naturally just click billing. Like I see it there and it's like uh next, like next colon billing. Like there's language we can work on, and this this is something that comes over. You've already been through UX where we talk about UX writing. This is where microcopy comes in. I do appreciate the fact that you have a confirmation page here. That's nice. And then there's iteration 3, and I don't necessarily know if I don't I don't think I saw this earlier, but you have a summary now. Okay. Um, and this summary, I believe, this is really where. Whoa, hey, hey, oh, you know, this is where I think the button should be. It should ride along with this unit, not kind of sandwiched down at the bottom. Additionally, until these forms are filled out, regardless of where you put it, what I would like to see is I would like to see this in an inactive state, and then it goes to, once the page is complete, then it goes to the dark. Okay, so and that's something that we'll be talking about in a bit more. We don't talk about state management until we talk about form construction, but state management is like coming up afterward. And again, you've got the summary and the confirmation. So this is working for me. It really comes down to where does the button go and what does the button say. Like submit, perfect. Billing, it's like we could do better than that. Okay. Let's continue to part 2. To take a beverage. All right. So looking over form field selection, and so the whole point here is you've got a bunch of fields possible. Okay. Somehow I did not go through and save that I thought I'd fix that. My bad. I've got to go update that. So subscribe, not subscribe. All right. So the goal here: create new account, first name, last name, email, password. It could even be email password. Okay. Actually, yeah, it could be email password, but I do like the fact that you got first name and last name. And the reason I like the fact that you got first name, last name here is a lot of times we like to greet people. We like to say, hey, Katie. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Kara. Whatever your first name is. And if you've collected the whole name and not first name, last name, it would be like you'd have to say, hello, Christopher Courtney. And that's really long and kind of formal when you just want to use the first name. Now you could use some JavaScript to try to guess where the break was. You could say, splice or split at, any, since figure out, you'd use regex to figure out where the open space is and then split it. But it's just easier if it's in the field, if it's two columns in your database, one for first name, one for last name, and then you would say, oh, hey, when I pull that out, pull the column, pull the information that's in that cell for first name. So book a plane ticket. Not that anybody does that anymore, but first name, last name, email address, payment type, credit card number, expiration date, month, year, CVC, quantity, origination, cancel, confirm. Yeah, this is like, you might need that for the entire, but just searching for, and I want to kind of come down here. The plane tickets need more information to verify who people are, as well as payment and checkout pages. They need to know where you're going coming. So yes, but let's look at this. To get this process started, think about it from a I'm beginning to fill out to get this process going. I don't need to give you that to start. I don't need to give you that to start. Not that, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that, not that. I need quantity, or I need origination. I need destination. Okay? I need origination. I need destination. I didn't need the quantity. I need to know the number of seats. I need dates. Like, I need to know when you're wanting to take this trip. I need to know whether it's. I probably need like some sort of, well, let's see here. We've got origination, right? And we've got quantity and departure and arrival dates. So where to? Where are you going? That's also origination. I'm sure destination's got to be up here somewhere. But my point is, and you can add destination if you don't have it already. But my point is, there's a lot of information here, primarily everything above quantity, that isn't really part of the searching for a plane ticket. This is the form that this is how we begin. And I think we'll see in the next screen, you probably have shifted from these form elements, but the whole point of this exercise is to get us thinking about what's required for this activity. So update a credit card. First name, last name, credit card number, password, expiration date, month, year, CVC. Now, now this is completely fine. You say, hey, I've never done this before. That's great. The whole point of this exercise is to begin thinking about things that we haven't done before. All right, and I think it's smart when you say, "Hey, I'm not familiar with this." That's good. That's good. Typically speaking, what I do is I take a stab at it, and then I oftentimes will go look at something in the field. Like I'll go pull up an account, like say my Amazon account. I'll look at my Amazon account, and I'll say, "Hey, how does this world's largest online store outside of Alibaba, how do they do it? How do they update credit cards?" And what you'll find is that typically speaking, you don't necessarily need to update your credit card. You're in it, so there's going to be a credit card number field, an expiration date. Expiration date typically is the month. It has the month and year in it. So these are one and the same, so just expiration date and CVC. But I think it's good to be thinking, hey, this is something I'm not super familiar with, okay? And I'm going to change subscribe. Yes. Ugh, I hate it that update didn't save. So subscribe to newsletter, first name, email address, subscribe, properly spelled. That's my fault. So this is super simple, and you want to make it super simple. It could just be email and subscribe, because a lot of people, the last thing a lot of people want to do is subscribe to a newsletter. They're like, ugh, a newsletter? Really? Do I have to? And you want to make it as painless as possible. So just putting the email address out there with a subscribe button is going to be your best case scenario for getting somebody to actually do the action. So, I hope that, aside from plane ticket and update credit card, those are more complex actions. And some of it is like, okay, if I'm booking the ticket, is it all one form? Obviously not. I think what we're going to see is I'm going to click 3 here, and yeah. All right. So let's see what you got here. Flying from, destination, departure, returning, travelers. Now this is interesting because this could travelers. This should be like number of travelers, okay? And I realize I'm jumping ahead, but this is the one that we were just talking about. This should be number of travelers. You should probably have like a caret to allow you to do a drop down, or travelers also has this restriction that's like number of travelers, and then number of travelers under the age of 18, and then it wants to know or number of children, yes, no, okay, and then the number of children. So there's some work here, but the big thing I'm glad to see is like you're using the calendar field, and that typically will trigger a pop up or like a mobile app. It'll trigger a calendar to where you can like just select the date that you're looking for rather than trying to type it in. The thing that I like about that more so than this, the fact that it allows you to select the dates rather than typing it in. It allows you to see the day of the week that it's on, and that is like the number one error that people make when they book by just date alone, when they can't see a calendar, is they pick like, oh, I thought that was a Friday. I booked our plane tickets on a Thursday. I need to change. And of course, change fees. So you have an opportunity to save people lots of headache. Again, not that anybody's traveling now. You can tell that I made this exercise before a pandemic hit. Now, dark mode. This is fine. I think that the whole goal here was to understand that like the form is probably going to be on some sort of dark background. Now, you could go through and adjust this further, and you could say, oh, hey, this fill is going to be, like this, and the type is going to be white. You could go further. You could go further with it, but this is fine. I like the purple. That's nice. You've still got a little stretchiness going on up here, but again, you're just getting it into Figma. I'm not going to be too judgy there. Create an account, name, email, password, create. That's fine. You've got the right language. I do think that you did a good job over here. This whole thing with the four. Every box that you create, there's 4 lines around it. So we've got 16 lines for four fields. Okay, it's just not great. Okay, so I would rather see something where you're reversing the fields out of a background, or you're just using a tone on the field itself. And the thing I like about tones is if you came in and said, oh, well, this one's active because I'm filling it in, you could lighten it up or you could darken it down. Like whatever you want it to do, you can do it with a gray or a color. Like this is just a much easier. It's easier on the eyes than this is, but it also allows you a lot more state management to like highlight where errors are. Now here, this is hey, you did it. Subscribe. I did. I left out the C. No, I left out the R. You left out the B. Although you have a B, but subscribe. I'm gonna subscribe to the newsletter. You just got. That's This is one thing I'm pointing out. I'm pointing this out because I saw a lot of these little typos as you went in through the UX portion of the program with Fresh Market. So I want to make sure that we're eradicating that. So I'm going to call attention to that when I see it, because I don't want to see that popping up and being a gremlin in your prototypes. Okay. Not that it's like you're working through forms right now. Error messages though. Forget about the rest of the design for a second. The fact that you have picked up on the fact, okay, so I need some microcopy here to tell me what is wrong. Please enter a valid email address. So Katie M. Wolford without the @ symbol, and then gmail.com or whatever. That's going to be a problem. So you've highlighted it. You've put the field, the information, the microcopy with the field that's broken or off. I think that's fine. Also, this is where again, like if that's not valid, you have to fix that before you can come back down. And once you fixed it, that should go valid. And a lot of times on fields like this, we are validating that as we go. So this button wouldn't actually fire. It wouldn't actually go to black or whatever color, red, whatever color you were using, until it had validated both of these fields. Now, a lot of people can get overly they can go overboard with this. Like, I hate it when these fields validate as I'm typing, and you see it like go alert, alert, oh, enter valid email, and like they've just turned the validation up to every single character that it's trying to validate, and until you get to the @ symbol, it's like freaking out. I hate that. So don't do that when you're working on forms, and call it out when you see it. All right, because it just is annoying. The one thing I would say here is that be aware that this process, so we're on like a mobile device, right? You've picked up on that. So this is a mobile device. You've got a box inside of a box. The device itself is a box. Now we have a box inside of that. Then we have a box inside of that box, and then our type is finally in here. That it encroaches, like it just keeps coming in from the sides, and it makes your available space smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, this would be much better if it was all the way out to the edge. Okay, and then this could be further out, and I say that to you because I know that information, we don't like to go full width on every column all the way down. We like to stack some information side to side. Okay, you only have the opportunity to do that if you're utilizing the full width. And I say this specifically because this is like the first time I started designing for mobile back in 2008. I would do a lot of this box inside a box inside a box inside a box. And we went to WWDC. It was like one of the first ones that Apple had. They were featuring like iPhone, and we had this thing where we were displaying photos, and Instagram actually used to do this as well, where like Instagram would display a photo, but it didn't go to the edge. Now they always go to the edge. Well, the developer, said, hey, like we were talking to the Apple team, they're like, yeah, you should use the whole screen. You shouldn't do this box thing for your images. And our big concern was, well, bandwidth, isn't it going to load slow? And of course, now that's not a concern at all. In most cases. And we do a better job of compressing images anyway. But my point is, having these false borders and then having borders inside of that, and then it's overkill. Okay, so as you're moving forward, keep that in mind. And yeah, otherwise, I think you're on the right path. But there's a big leap here from part 2 to part 3. Part 2, it's like, I'm not really quite sure what should be on the form. I've never done this. Part 3 is, I've seen forms before, and I don't need all of those things that I picked out, and I actually need some other things. So the fact that I'm kind of guessing that you probably went and studied some of these situations, because you were likely unsure about your selections based on part 2. You're like, I really don't know. I've never done this, as you said in your notes. I've never done this. That's great. That's why we go study patterns. Okay? If this exercise did nothing but make you go study patterns so that you better understood how other sites update credit cards, and you now know what form fields that typically entails, you're better off. You're already better off. You're leaving this exercise with more knowledge than you came into it with, and I am happy with that outcome. The only other thing I would say is, like back over here in part 1, you've got the right idea, okay, but the language that goes inside of these call to actions matter, okay. So be thinking about that as you matriculate through this process. And otherwise, Katie, I think you did pretty good. So yeah, let's see. Oh, we got people in daily stand up. Oh, it's Katie, and it's Abraham, and we're done. Yeah. So I'll manually transition back. I gotta figure out what happened to my quick keys there. Maybe I just need to restart. I'll just restart OBS and see what happens. But And yeah, it totally is like not. Like, let's see here. Control F4. Oh, whoa, wait. Option 4? Yeah, it's just being really fussy about it. Oh, weird. It's like my keyboard. It's like my like physical keyboard is dead. Maybe that's it. Maybe my keyboard's just dead. Um, I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible because it does it. It totally does it up here. Yeah. All right. Hey everybody, I'm Chris Courtney, and I'm gonna go charge my keyboard. I'll see you next week.